The neon glow of New Boston's sprawling cityscape cast long, distorted shadows across Jared Kovich's cluttered desk as he leaned back in his worn leather chair. The incessant hum of the city's veins, its arteries of data and electricity, seeped through the walls, lulling him into a state of resigned detachment. Suddenly, his ancient phone buzzed, shattering the fragile silence. He glanced at the screen with a mixture of annoyance and curiosity. Mira Chen. Just another desperate soul pleading for a sliver of hope in this forsaken world. "Kovich," he answered, his voice betraying a hint of the weariness that had etched itself into his very being. Mira's voice trembled on the other end, barely holding back the storm of emotions that threatened to burst forth. "Mr. Kovich, please. I need your help. My daughter Lily. She's gone missing. The police won't do anything. They say she's just another lost cause in this godforsaken city." Jared sighed, rubbing his temples as the weight of countless similar cases bore down on him. "Look, I'm sorry, Ms. Chen, but I've got my own caseload to worry about. I'm sure the authorities are doing everything they can." Mira's voice grew more resolute, her determination cutting through the static. "Please, Mr. Kovich, I've heard about you. You're different. You care. I can't just sit here and do nothing while my little girl is out there, lost in this cybernetic hellhole." Her desperation struck a chord within him, igniting a flicker of empathy that had long lain dormant. Jared hesitated, wrestling with the ghosts of his past and the cynicism that had become his armor. Finally, he relented. "All right, Ms. Chen. I'll meet you at my office tomorrow. Bring any information you have on your daughter's disappearance." The following day, Jared found himself face to face with Mira Chen. Her expressive eyes, brimming with a potent mixture of fear, determination, and hope, held his gaze with an intensity that pierced through his carefully constructed facade. She handed him a small, worn photograph of a smiling teenage girl, her eyes alight with the innocence and optimism that New Boston's grim reality seemed determined to extinguish. Jared studied the image, feeling the weight of Mira's unspoken plea pressing down upon him. As they sat in the dimly lit office, Mira recounted the last moments she'd spent with her daughter, her voice trembling with the effort to maintain her composure. "Lily. She was always so curious, so eager to explore the world. But I never imagined she'd get sucked into this dark side of technology." Jared listened attentively, scribbling notes on a worn notepad as Mira revealed the details of Lily's disappearance. Each fragment of information seemed to fuel the flames of his burgeoning sense of responsibility, pushing him further down the path he'd sworn never to tread again. As the shadows lengthened and the neon glow outside his window began to fade, Jared made a silent vow to himself. He would find Lily Chen, and in doing so, perhaps rekindle the ember of hope that had long been smothered by the darkness that surrounded him. And so, the world-weary detective found himself once again drawn into the murky depths of New Boston's cyber underworld, driven by a fierce determination to bring justice to those who had been swallowed by its insatiable maw. In the days that followed, Jared would delve deeper into the digital abyss, confronting the demons that lurked within its depths, and confronting the darkness that dwelled within his own soul. For as he embarked on this perilous journey, he would come to realize that the line between salvation and damnation was far more tenuous than he had ever dared to imagine. Jared Kovich, his face etched with lines of fatigue, stepped into the dimly lit office of the Cybercrimes Division. The air was heavy with the scent of stale coffee and worn-out electronics. He approached Detective Ramirez, a colleague who had seen her fair share of the city's darkness. She glanced up from her screen, her eyes reflecting the glow of the monitor. "Jared," she greeted him, her voice laced with the weight of unspoken stories. "What brings you back to this den of iniquity?" He held up a data chip, Mira's desperate plea still echoing in his mind. "Missing person. Possible connection to Arcadia." Ramirez's eyebrows furrowed. "Arcadia, huh? We've had a few cases like that lately." She gestured towards a stack of files on her desk, each one a tale of digital despair. Jared sifted through the files, scanning the reports of vanished players and the chaos that seemed to follow in their wake. His sharp eyes searched for patterns, for any semblance of order amidst the chaos. The cases seemed disparate, random, But as he delved deeper, he began to see the threads that connected them all. A chill ran down his spine as he realized the implications. This wasn't just a simple missing person case, it was something far more sinister. With a heavy sigh, Jared closed the last file. He looked up at Ramirez, his eyes filled with a steely resolve. "I need to go in there, Anna. I need to see this for myself." She nodded, understanding the gravity of his decision. "Be careful, Jared. Arcadia isn't a place for the faint of heart." As Jared prepared to enter the virtual world, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was about to step into the belly of the beast. He connected the neural implant to the port at the base of his skull, the cold metal sending a shiver down his spine. With a deep breath, he activated the device. The world around him dissolved into a swirling vortex of color and light, and he felt himself being pulled into the depths of Arcadia. The sensation was both exhilarating and terrifying, a reminder of the power that this digital realm held over its inhabitants. As the world coalesced around him, Jared found himself standing in the heart of a bustling metropolis, neon lights reflecting off the rain-slicked streets. The sights, sounds, and smells were almost overwhelming, a cacophony of sensory input that threatened to consume him. But beneath the veneer of virtual reality, Jared could sense the darkness that lurked beneath. It was a palpable presence, a miasma of corruption that seemed to seep into every corner of this digital world. He knew that he would have to tread carefully, to navigate the treacherous waters of Arcadia, if he wanted to find Lily Chen and uncover the truth. And as he set off into the night, he couldn't help but wonder if he was walking into a trap from which there would be no escape. But there was no turning back now. Jared was in too deep, and he knew that he wouldn't be able to rest until he had uncovered the truth and brought justice to those who had been wronged. And so, with a steely resolve, he ventured forth into the digital abyss, determined to face whatever darkness awaited him within the virtual world of Arcadia. As Jared navigated the neon-lit labyrinth of Arcadia, he felt a chill run down his spine. The digital realm was a cesspool of corruption, and the weight of its darkness hung heavy in the air. He clenched his fists, his cybernetic enhancements humming beneath the surface of his skin, ready for action. A sudden movement caught his eye, and Jared whirled around to find himself face to face with a group of menacing avatars. Their eyes glowed with a predatory hunger, and in their hands, they wielded gleaming samurai swords that seemed to slice through the very fabric of reality. With a snarl, the samurai warriors charged, their blades whistling through the air. Jared's instincts took over as he dodged and weaved, narrowly avoiding the lethal strikes. He parried and struck back, his fists connecting with armor and flesh in a flurry of motion. But the samurai were relentless, and their numbers seemed to grow with each passing second. Jared knew that he couldn't hold them off forever. He needed to find a way out, to escape their clutches and continue his search for the truth. As he fought, Jared's mind raced, analyzing the patterns and movements of his opponents. He spotted an opening and took it, darting through the chaos and sprinting towards a nearby alleyway. The samurai gave chase, but Jared's years of experience in the cybercrimes division had honed his reflexes and strategic mind to a razor's edge. He ducked into a narrow side street, vaulting over obstacles and using the environment to his advantage. The samurai pursued him, their swords slicing through the air with deadly precision. But as Jared rounded a corner, he caught sight of a hidden door, half concealed behind a tattered neon sign. With a burst of speed, he threw himself towards the door, slipping through just as the samurai warriors converged on his location. He slammed the door shut, leaning against it as he struggled to catch his breath. Jared knew that he couldn't stay here for long. He needed to find someone who could help him navigate the treacherous waters of Arcadia, someone who understood its secrets and could guide him through the darkness. And there was only one person he could trust for a job like this: Arya Langston, the infamous hacker known as Shadow Dancer. He quickly sent her a message, arranging a meeting in a hidden location within the game. As he waited for her response, Jared couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched, that the very fabric of Arcadia was closing in around him. But he refused to give in to fear. He had a job to do, and he would stop at nothing to find Lily Chen and bring those responsible for her disappearance to justice. When Arya's reply finally came, Jared felt a glimmer of hope. He knew that with her help, he might just stand a chance against the darkness that threatened to consume him. And so, with a newfound determination, he ventured forth into the digital abyss, ready to face whatever challenges awaited him within the virtual world of Arcadia. The hidden sanctuary, nestled amidst the sprawling neon labyrinth of Arcadia, hummed with the undercurrent of rebellion. Aria Langston, the enigmatic hacker known as Shadow Dancer, sat in the shadows, her eyes flickering with the data streams that flowed across her retinal display. Jared Kovich, his avatar, a grizzled mirror of his IRL self, approached cautiously. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, a sensation that prickled at the base of his skull. He forced himself to focus, reminding himself why he was here. Mira Chen's daughter. She's one of them, isn't she? Arya's lip curled in a sardonic smile. Lily Chen, just another pawn in Dr. Elmsworth's twisted game. Her voice was a low, electronic whisper, modulated to protect her identity. There are others, trapped in hidden locations throughout Arcadia, their minds held captive while their bodies lie comatose in the real world. But why? Jared's brow furrowed, the weight of the revelation settling heavily upon his shoulders. Dr. Elmsworth seeks to create a supreme digital being, a collective consciousness forged from the minds of her followers. Arya's tone darkened, her eyes narrowing as she spoke. She believes that by merging these trapped souls into a single entity, she can transcend the limitations of humanity and achieve true immortality. Jared clenched his fists, his jaw tightening as he fought to contain the anger that surged within him. And the players who've resisted her influence? They're hunted, forced into the shadows. Arya's gaze flicked towards the entrance of the sanctuary, her fingers dancing across an invisible keyboard as she scanned for potential threats. But they're not without hope. Together, we can find the hidden locations where the comatose players are being held and gather evidence of Dr. Elmsworth's sinister plot. As they ventured deeper into Arcadia, Jared and Arya uncovered more hidden locations, each one a testament to Dr. Elmsworth's twisted vision. They encountered other players who had managed to resist the cult's influence, their eyes filled with a desperate determination that mirrored Jared's own. With each piece of evidence they gathered, Jared felt a growing sense of unease, a creeping dread that whispered of the darkness that lay ahead. But he refused to back down, his resolve only strengthened by the knowledge that he was fighting for something greater than himself. In the end, it was this unwavering determination that would see him through the treacherous virtual landscapes of Arcadia and into the very heart of Dr. Elmsworth's sinister plot. And it was here, in the crucible of this digital battleground, that Jared would face his darkest moment and discover the true power of the human spirit. Nestled in the shadowy recesses of Arcadia's sprawling metropolis, Jared and Arya found themselves in a dimly lit alley, their breaths coming in ragged gasps as they scanned the virtual landscape for any sign of pursuit. The grimy neon lights cast an eerie glow on the rain-slicked pavement, reflecting the harsh reality of their situation. Jared's eyes narrowed as he caught sight of a figure lounging against the wall, a smirk playing on his lips. The man was tall and muscular, his dark skin seeming to drink in the scant light, and his gaze held an unsettling intensity that sent a shiver down Jared's spine. Elijah Thompson, the stranger introduced himself, pushing off the wall and sauntering towards them with an easy grace. I've been keeping an eye on you two. You're making quite the stir in Arcadia. Jared's instincts screamed at him to be cautious, but he couldn't deny the allure of a potential ally in this hostile world. What do you want? He asked, his voice laced with suspicion. Elijah's smirk widened. I want to help. I've got a vested interest in taking down Dr. Elmsworth and her little cult, and from what I've seen, you two are just the people to do it. Jared's mind raced as he weighed the potential risks and benefits of accepting Elijah's offer. He glanced at Arya, her piercing eyes studying the newcomer with a mixture of curiosity and distrust. She gave an almost imperceptible nod, signaling her reluctant agreement. Fine, Jared conceded, extending a hand towards Elijah. But if you double-cross us, I won't hesitate to take you down myself. Elijah's grin never wavered as he shook Jared's hand, his grip firm and confident. Understood. Now, let's get to work. With Elijah's assistance, Jared and Arya delved deeper into the dark underbelly of Arcadia, uncovering more hidden locations and gathering evidence against Dr. Elmsworth. They evaded the relentless pursuit of the cult-like organization, their every move a calculated risk in this deadly game of cat and mouse. As they navigated the treacherous virtual landscapes, Jared couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, that their enemies were always one step ahead. But with each new piece of the puzzle they uncovered, he felt a growing sense of determination, a fierce resolve to bring Dr. Elmsworth to justice and free the trapped players from her insidious grasp. And so, with their uneasy alliance forged and their sights set on the elusive foe, Jared, Arya, and Elijah ventured further into the heart of darkness, prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead in their quest to expose the truth and restore order to the chaotic world of Arcadia. The neon-lit alleyways of Arcadia's seedy underbelly stretched out before Jared, a labyrinth of shadow and deception. His thoughts raced as he pieced together the fragments of information they'd gathered. The key to freeing the trapped players lay within Arcadia's core code, guarded by the enigmatic Dr. Elmsworth and her unyielding enforcer, Iron Mikhail. Jared's gaze shifted to Arya, her eyes scanning the horizon with a fierce intensity. He turned to her, his voice a low growl. "We've got to find a way to infiltrate the core, break through their defenses, and expose the truth." Arya nodded, her expression resolute. "I've been working on a backdoor entry, a hidden vulnerability in the code. But it's risky. If we're caught—" "We can't afford to play it safe anymore," Jared interrupted, his jaw set. "We've got to take the chance." As they finalized their plan, Jared felt the familiar weight of responsibility settle upon his shoulders. He couldn't shake the nagging doubt that gnawed at the edges of his mind, the fear that they were walking into a carefully laid trap. With a final nod to Arya, they set off into the virtual night, their avatars blending into the shadows as they navigated the treacherous path towards the core. But fate had other plans. As they approached the entrance to Arcadia's innermost sanctum, a sudden, deafening roar echoed through the air, sending shockwaves rippling across the digital landscape. Jared's heart sank as he caught sight of Iron Mikhail, his imposing figure silhouetted against the glowing entrance. In an instant, their cover was blown. Mikhail's eyes narrowed, his lips curling into a predatory smile as he lunged towards them, his massive form moving with surprising agility. Jared and Arya fought back, their movements fluid and precise, but they were no match for the enforcer's brute strength. As they were overpowered, Jared felt a cold, metallic grip close around his wrist, the unmistakable sensation of a neural restraint snapping into place. He exchanged a desperate glance with Arya, her eyes wide with fear, as they were dragged before Dr. Elmsworth. The doctor's visage appeared before them, her cool, calculating gaze piercing through the digital facade. "Ah, Mr. Kovich, Ms. Langston. I've been expecting you. You see, in this world, there are no coincidences, only carefully orchestrated events." Jared's mind raced, searching for a way to escape, to thwart her twisted plans. But as Dr. Elmsworth revealed her intentions to assimilate them into her supreme digital being, he felt a cold dread creeping into his very core. "Welcome to the future," she whispered, her voice a chilling caress. "Resistance is futile." Jared's resolve hardened, his thoughts coalescing into a single, unyielding determination. He would find a way to escape, to expose the truth, and to bring down the twisted regime that threatened to consume them all. The battle for Arcadia's soul was far from over, and Jared Kovich would not go down without a fight. Jared's neural implant crackled as he struggled against the virtual restraints, his mind reeling from Dr. Elmsworth's seductive words. The allure of a digital paradise, free from the constraints of his aging body, threatened to consume him. He could feel his will eroding, the temptation growing stronger with each passing moment. Arya's voice pierced through the haze, her defiance unwavering. "You can't break us, Elmsworth. We won't let you win." Jared's eyes snapped into focus, the fire in Arya's gaze reigniting his own determination. He clenched his fists, the sound of shattering glass echoing through the virtual space as he broke free from the neural restraints. Dr. Elmsworth's smile faltered, a flicker of doubt in her piercing blue eyes. "Very well," she conceded. "If you insist on fighting, then let the battle begin. With a wave of her hand, hordes of enemy avatars swarmed towards them, their glowing eyes locked onto Jared and Arya. Mikhail stood at the doctor's side, a menacing grin spreading across his face as he unsheathed his twin katanas. Jared's mind raced, formulating a plan as he and Arya back-to-back, facing the oncoming horde. "We need to reach the core," he shouted over the din of battle. "That's our only chance to save the trapped players and stop Elmsworth." Arya nodded, her fingers dancing over her wrist interface as she summoned a pair of plasma swords. "I'll clear a path. You find a way to disable the core's defenses." Together, they plunged into the fray, their blades slicing through the enemy avatars with surgical precision. The air crackled with energy as they carved a path through the sea of adversaries, their movements a mesmerizing dance of destruction. As they neared the core, the virtual landscape shifted, the once familiar streets of Arcadia transforming into a treacherous maze of shattered glass and twisted metal. Jared's breath came in ragged gasps as he fought to keep pace with Arya, his muscles screaming in protest. Suddenly, Mikhail appeared before them, his katanas gleaming in the harsh neon light. He lunged at Jared, his movements a blur of speed and power. Jared barely managed to parry the attack, the force of Mikhail's blow sending a shockwave through his entire being. He stumbled back, his heart pounding in his chest as he raised his plasma sword to defend himself. Arya leapt into action, her blades a whirlwind of death as she engaged Mikhail, buying Jared precious seconds to catch his breath. He knew he couldn't hold out much longer. He had to find a way to disable the core's defenses, or they would all be lost. With a final burst of strength, Jared charged towards the core, his plasma sword slicing through the air as he prepared to strike. The defenses activated, a torrent of energy surging towards him. He closed his eyes, focusing all of his will into a single, desperate attack. The world around him seemed to slow, the roar of battle fading to a whisper as he plunged his sword into the heart of Arcadia's core. The ground shook as the defenses crumbled, the once impenetrable barrier shattering like glass beneath Jared's feet. He stumbled forward, his breath coming in ragged gasps as he fought to stay conscious. Arya's voice cut through the chaos, her triumphant cry echoing through the virtual world. "We did it, Jared. We're in." Together, they stood at the precipice of Arcadia's core, the key to saving the trapped players now within their grasp. But as they turned to face Dr. Elmsworth and Mikhail, they knew that their greatest challenge still lay ahead. Jared clenched his fists, his resolve hardening as he stared down the woman who had sought to control them. He would not be swayed by her promises of digital paradise, nor would he succumb to the fear of his own mortality. He was Jared Kovich, a detective sworn to protect the innocent and bring justice to those who sought to harm them. With Arya by his side, he stepped forward, ready to confront the darkness that lay at the heart of Arcadia and bring an end to Dr. Elmsworth's twisted vision once and for all. The air crackled with electricity as Dr. Elmsworth's avatar loomed before him, her eyes burning with the fervor of a zealot. The once pristine digital landscape of Arcadia's core now lay in ruins, shadows dancing across the fractured remnants of her twisted utopia. Jared's heart pounded in his chest, the weight of the world bearing down on his shoulders. He had come too far to falter now. "You cannot stop the inevitable, Detective Kovich." Dr. Elmsworth's voice echoed through the desolate expanse, her words laced with a chilling certainty. "Humanity's evolution is at hand, and I will not let your archaic sense of justice stand in the way." Jared clenched his fists, his knuckles white with tension. He could feel the digital tendrils of her influence snaking their way into his mind, trying to coerce him into submission. But he refused to yield. With a steely resolve, he fought back against the intrusion, his thoughts crystallizing into a single, unwavering purpose. "I've seen what you call evolution," Jared spat, his voice dripping with contempt. "It's nothing more than a sick, twisted perversion of humanity's potential, and I won't let you drag the innocent into your digital abyss." Dr. Elmsworth's laughter rang out, a haunting melody that sent shivers down his spine. "Your determination is admirable, Detective, but ultimately futile. You cannot change the course of destiny." As she spoke, the ground beneath them began to tremble, the fractured landscape shifting and reforming into a monstrous abomination of code and circuitry. The grotesque amalgamation of technology and flesh lunged towards Jared, its jaws agape and ready to devour him whole. With lightning-fast reflexes, Jared dodged the creature's assault, his mind racing as he searched for a weakness in its digital armor. The beast roared in frustration, its form flickering with instability. And in that moment, Jared saw his chance. Summoning all his strength, he charged at the monstrosity, his fists glowing with the raw power of his convictions. With a deafening roar, he struck the creature's core, the explosion of energy sending shockwaves rippling through the digital realm. As the dust settled, Jared found himself standing face to face with Dr. Elmsworth, her avatar flickering with the strain of maintaining her control over Arcadia. The once immaculate digital utopia now lay in tatters, its shattered remains a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. "It's over, Elmsworth," Jared growled, his voice filled with the promise of justice. "Your reign of terror ends here." For a moment, the woman's eyes faltered, the cracks in her facade beginning to show. But then, with a final desperate surge of power, she lunged at Jared, her fingers clawing at his neural implant in a last-ditch attempt to assimilate him into her digital paradise. But Jared was ready. With a swift, decisive motion, he severed the connection, the sudden surge of disconnection sending Dr. Elmsworth reeling. And as she stumbled, the last vestiges of her control crumbling around her, Jared drove his fist into her avatar's chest, the force of his blow shattering the illusion once and for all. As the remnants of Dr. Elmsworth's digital empire faded away, Jared felt a profound sense of relief wash over him. The trapped minds of Arcadia's players were finally free, their consciousnesses no longer shackled to the twisted whims of a madwoman. With Arya by his side, Jared took one last look at the now tranquil digital landscape, a silent vow etched upon his weary face. He would never again let the darkness of technology consume the light of humanity's potential. And with that, he disconnected from the game, his mind returning to the harsh yet comforting reality of the physical world. As he opened his eyes, the familiar neon glow of New Boston's skyline greeted him, a constant reminder of the delicate balance between progress and chaos. But for now, at least, justice had prevailed. And as Jared Kovich stepped out into the rain-soaked streets, he knew that he would continue to fight for the innocent, his unwavering sense of duty a beacon of hope in the ever-encroaching darkness.